Good Friday afternoon, evening, and happy Hanukkah. Last day of Hanukkah is today. Did you know that?
I had no idea, but now I know.
Now you know. Can you believe it's almost Christmas?
It's almost Christmas, yes.
Guess what?
Why are you still working?
Santa came early.
Yeah? What did he give you?
Look and see what I got.
Oh, you got new studio.
Got a new studio.
One?
Second one. And do you want to know what's sad?
Oh, you're stacking them on kind of like in a rack. Or the,
what I should have done, yes. So this is an M2, so not an M1. Base model refurbished. 32 gig of RAM, 512, so base model, which is fine. But, more cores for both CPU and GPU. And it cost $100 less than what I paid for the M1 last year. So the M2 with more power, $100 less. So I'll be building this weekend.
If it's any consolation, I bought my studio less than a month ago, and I bought M1.
Yeah, well, I almost bought the M1 because it was $100 cheaper than this one. This, I think, was $16.99, and the M1 was $15.99. And I got one more thing. Actually, 3 of these. Hang on. So I got, it's a monitor. Okay. But it's an 18-inch monitor.
It's the tiniest monitor in the world.
No, it's not the tiniest, but it's 18 inches. So it's small, right? So it's portable, because when I do travel, I would like to have a monitor with me. These are a little too big.
Are you going to carry that with you?
Yeah, because I'm driving.
Okay.
Because I used to carry the 27-inch monitors with me in boxes. Didn't want to do that again. But these are also all USB, right? So they have, what do they have? 2 USB, they have a micro HDMI. And it's got a little, can I open it? A little kickstand. So,
there you go.
So for travel, for me not flying, throwing it in the car, this is easy. This is great. I'm happy. These weren't on special. They weren't on special. I wish they were. They were $170. But for a portable 1080p monitor, it's great. That's perfect. That's what I want. Hi, by the way, my name's Darren. This over here is Victor, and we are the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox. No, we don't always talk about Christmas presents. And on Wednesdays, that's when the podcast comes out. And on Fridays, we do this live show. Now, the question is, where will we be for the next 2 weeks? I'll go ahead and pull back the covers. Not here. We won't be here. Let me go through the chat here. Ron's good. Latvia. That's cool. Noko, good to see you. Karen, Bill, and here we go. I blame Victor for my week-long dive into Q. Look.
Okay.
So dive into Q while you're on sick leave. Okay. I want to like it, but the potential seems very early days. Main thing missing is modules. Interesting.
Yeah. Actually, I'm not sure what you mean by modules.
Library, maybe?
You have... no, libraries... Yeah, you have. It's Go libraries. So if by modules you mean libraries, you can import any Go library, really. And if by module you mean functions, then you have functions. So I'm guessing something else. But okay. Tell us in comments.
Yep. Okay. We weren't here last week because Victor was traveling and did not have... I'm not going to use the words you sent to me about the Wi-Fi, but let's just say it was challenging at best. Correct?
Exactly. That's a very politically correct way to repeat what I said, yes.
That's why we weren't here last week. But all throughout the week, because we didn't know if we were going to do the show until probably, Wednesday or Thursday, right? Because we were trying to see, okay, what do we really have to work with where he was? And once we found out we didn't have a whole lot, or he didn't have enough, I was still looking at the notes and was like, I only had like 3 things come in last week. Last week was super quiet. This week, however, holy cow, somebody released the hounds because there was so much news this week. I guess everybody's getting it in right before, it was the Christmas push. I've also been seeing people saying, hey, I need all this stuff turned around because I'm going on vacation. And we're not. Bill?
Maybe it's like, last couple of weeks in the last quarter of the year push for the sales in companies. That could be the case as well.
It could be. Bill, to answer your question, yes, we'll get into that in a few minutes. Before we, let me see, do I have everything else ready to go? Yes, let's go ahead and flip this over here. So what we have here, notice all the snowflakes around? I pulled that back out just because we can. We could do snowflakes anytime. I was talking to one of my coworkers up in Canada. I think she lives, if you were to direct, north-south mileage, I'm sorry, I'm going to use miles here, and then I'll try to do the kilometer math. Let's say it's 1,000 miles. So that would be how much kilometers, round number?
It doesn't matter because you're flying with a plane on that
A lot,
distance.
yeah. Yesterday, the temperature where she was the same as the temperature where I am, and I'm 1,000 miles south of her.
There you go.
Weird thing. But anyway, again, we're not talking about that. DevOps Dozen, and this is important because we are not going to be here before this closes. This closes on December 31st. So if you have not voted yet, please vote. It closes on December 31st. I don't remember. Let's double check the voting again because they had set a time on there as well. You remember I've been saying I was going to put all this out on the socials and I was going to ask for forgiveness? Well, I still haven't even started that yet. Public voting, they don't have a time of day for the 31st. So anyway, 31st.
Anyway.
Please vote for us. We're in 3 categories. We're in the number 3 category, which is something, and the number 4 category, and the number 6 category. Here we go. Number 3, best DevOps related video series. That is DevOps Toolkit. Vote for that. I'll just be blunt today. Best podcast series. Vote for this one, DevOps Paradox. Number 6, top DevOps evangelist. Go all the way to the bottom. There he is, Mr. Victor. He needs to be a returning champion again this year because you won last year.
I did.
And then vote for other things too that you're aware of. Vote once and play by the rules. Please play by the rules. 1 person, 1 vote. 1 vote per IP address. And they can follow the other things. So do the right thing. Just vote once. So choose wisely. Again, that's the Indiana Jones reference. Choose wisely. You have chosen wisely. Okay, so let me see here. We'll come back to Roman's things about Q in a few minutes. Let's go ahead. So 2 weeks ago, we had Mauricio on from Diagrid. Diagrid. We were talking about platform engineering around specifically Dapper was what we were talking about once it all landed. And I don't remember why, but I thought this was an interesting way of representing the episode. I don't remember why I did it this way, but it made sense at the time. just because. So anyway, Mauricio on 2 weeks ago, and then this week, we had our friendly laughing lady, Whitney, was on with us. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that episode, listen to it, or it's also, we had video for that one over on YouTube as well. Her laugh is infectious. And I meant to go and look up. She talked about a book and how she learns. And I forgot the book name because I just had that. But there was a piece of software she uses to help learn things. That's towards the end of the episode. You might find those things interesting. I meant to get that in and have that as a software recommendation today, and I forgot to do it. So anyway, that was Whitney this week. From restaurant server to KubeCon keynote in 4 years. Under 4 years, technically. Amazing. Her story is quite amazing. Okay, so anyway, podcast Wednesdays, 6 a.m. Eastern. Even during the holiday season, we still have podcasts coming out on Wednesday, even though we're not going to be here on Fridays. So, and I'll go ahead and give you the heads up of what they are because they're already done. Next Wednesday, we typically have a sort of shorter episode on the whatever the Wednesday is before Christmas. So whatever that first Wednesday is before Christmas, it's shorter. And usually has music. And just like we have in the past, that's what happens again this year. The week after that, so that would be whatever day it is. I've lost track on math. 27th, I guess. We're going to go back through and see how badly we missed our predictions for 2023. Hint, nobody saw ChatGPT coming. That was not on anybody's bingo card, at least not the way we thought about it. And then the first week of January, which will be back that week, is our predictions for 2024. And because we recorded it the day after Thanksgiving, I don't remember what those were anymore. Because once we record it, I still remember it. Once it's edited and scheduled, I completely forget it until I listen to it on the day before we come on here. Needless to say, there's probably some AI in there. And some AI and some more AI. Well, that's what we'll consider. Now, here's a piece of news this week that I didn't expect to see coming. Came out yesterday. Mitch Hashimoto has now left the building. I thought it was interesting. Obviously, he started out high and kept working his way back to engineering, where he was happy.
Yeah.
But now he's peaced out.
Yeah, we probably, HashiCorp is a relatively big company. I haven't read that, so correct me, Darren, you read it, but I'm guessing that he's looking for something with, more freedom. Not because HashiCorp is a good or bad company, but, there are rules that need to be followed, and the number of rules increases with the size.
He didn't mention it that way. The big thing that he mentioned, and it's a long, and this is the post that was sent to all internal employees that then he just reposted here. Don't know if it's exact or not. So if anybody works at HashiCorp and if this matches, it'd be interesting to know. But for him, he mentioned, I believe, that his first child was just born. Not just born, but, very soon or recent times. So anyway, congratulations to Mitch. Let's say his exit was probably very good.
Oh yeah, he's probably not worried about financials when making those decisions.
No. Nearly my entire adult life has revolved around the company. It's amazing. Yeah, here's the part right here. My family recently welcomed our first child while reflecting on my time off, I felt now was a fitting time to complete the transition. The transition being the previous paragraph. Stepped down from CEO in 2016. Boy, it doesn't seem that long ago. And then departing leadership and board of directors in 2021. And he's just been a hands-on engineer since then.
Very cool.
That's another story that
when people accomplish whatever they wanted to accomplish, and now I can go and do stuff that I really like.
Yep. Or do nothing at all for a little bit, since he's probably going to be doing diaper duty, my guess. Right? That's probably. Let's see if Mitch, if you're listening to this, if there's any way that you can use Terraform to drive a robot to change diapers, there's your next billion. You didn't even laugh. That's so sad. I tried. Anyway, congrats to Mitch. Yeah. You didn't think it was funny, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's okay. Going back to what Bill was saying earlier. The forking continues. This was the one that I thought was going to get forked next anyway. I just didn't know when it was going to happen or who was going to do it. OpenBao is the fork to Vault. Okay, good, right? That makes sense. But then when so it was announced at the Open Source Summit in Tokyo last week or this week. Scalar revealed the details. So the guy that worked at Scalar was part of OpenTofu, which is OpenTF. OpenTF became OpenTofu. Too many words. But then when I looked at it, and I click into OpenBao that's on this link on the register, and I go look at the URL, and it's Linux Foundation Edge. I was like, okay, good. But if you were to take a look at it, if you would have followed that URL right when you hover over it, it goes to ibm.biz. Now, I don't know if that's a redirector or not. I don't know if IBM Biz is just something related with IBM or not. I'm going to leave it there, right? But I just thought that was strange.
I would guess that it's probably one of those marketing links, right? It goes there, it records that you visited that article and what's or not, and then it goes to Open Foundation. Linux Foundation, sorry.
Linux Foundation, yeah. So LF Edge is Linux Foundation, I believe it is, right? Here,
Yes,
let's see.
Linux Foundation.
LF Edge, blah, blah, blah. Umbrella organization
There
that
it is.
establishes, blah, 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 blah. Well, wait a minute. Is it Linux Foundation? That is the Linux
would
Foundation
say
logo,
it must be.
right?
Yeah, it must be Linux Foundation.
No, it's not.
What do you mean?
It's not Linux
Don't scare
Foundation.
me now.
It's not. Or maybe it is. LF Edge, tell us who you are, please. Wow. Anyway, yeah, you do that. I'll keep talking here. So they forked it. It's under MPL 2. We'll see. We'll see how it plays
Now-
out.
Bart tells me that it's Linux Foundation. So
Okay. I don't really understand. Anyway, OpenBao, yet another fork. Fork. Okay, let me see here. Let's see.
But it's Terraform and Vault are very, very different projects in terms of who has vested interest in those, right? Realistically, IBM and companies like that, they have no strong interest in Terraform, Open, Tofu, or whatever it is, right? Because, I mean, it's not that they don't care about it, but their business is not really focused on those. But Vault is, right? To me, big guys like IBM and AWS, maybe not Google, but Azure, makes perfect sense for them to start investing heavily in, what did you call it? OpenBao, right? Because especially, actually, cloud providers like AWS probably not, because they have their solutions that are actually competing with it. But now when I think about it, IBM, yes, IBM, Red Hat, self-managed on-prem solutions, you need a secrets manager, right? Definitely need it.
Yeah. And there's another link. I'm sort of, while you were talking, I went through this other OpenBao link that was on the left nav. This page is intended to capture the organizations and their main contacts that have made a statement of support for this effort, blah, blah, blah. So let's take a look at the companies. EdgeX Foundry, whoever EdgeX is, some sort of something. I'm assuming that's back to Linux. Maybe that's referencing Linux Foundation Edge or LF Edge. Sorry if it's not. IBM Edge Application Manager will use Open Horizon. Open Horizon is this. We'll participate in forking. Whoever NS1 is, and then IO Tech Systems, based on EdgeX Foundry. I guess we'll see. Have there been any meetings yet? Let's see. Working group on the 9th, 16th. Oh, there was a meeting this past week, yesterday, in fact, as we're doing this. So maybe we, and Joe Pearson, I've heard that name before. I don't remember why I know that name. Who is Joe? Joe
This is...
No, I'm not there. It is Linux Foundation, by the way.
that's the danger of the potential mistake that HashiCorp made, right? It's I was never worried for them when they changed the license, because hey, random people will cry about it and so on and so forth, and people who are not paying for their products are going to be disappointed. But when industry starts leveraging that outcry, like in this case, OpenBao, probably with IBM and who knows else behind it, that's the danger. That's where that's how we will see how big of a mistake HashiCorp made with the licensing changes.
Yep, and this is correct, and Bill called this out. Thank you for calling this out, Bill, and others. At the top part of this node here, once you get up here, investigating sponsor user is IBM.
There we go.
So there's all the things. So anyway, OpenBao. Just in case you need a new present. There you go. Okay, next up, here's another one that I did not see coming. Maybe you did. Docker, it took me a while to figure this one out because it was so strange. Welcomes AtomicJar, maker of test containers. So Docker has bought AtomicJar.
Whale, okay, come on.
Welcomes.
It took me like 15 seconds to understand. Docker whale comes AtomicJar. Okay, I don't know how to read English. Okay, now I get it. Okay.
That's fine. So anyway, Docker bought AtomicJar. What do you think of this? I'm still head scratching this one, other than congratulations to AtomicJar. Right?
So wait, what happened? Did Docker acquire AtomicJar?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This week.
Yeah, nice. I mean, OpenJar is probably not the with test containers and what's not is not the type of the company that would successfully go IPO. So it's probably a type of the startup that was looking to be bought by somebody, and Docker makes perfect sense for what they're doing.
Yeah. So anyway, congratulations to the FAQ. I thought the FAQ was interesting. Will test containers become closed source? There are no plans to change the licensing structure. Notice how they state that. No plans to change the licensing structure of test containers open source components. In the past, you probably would have said, no, we're not going to make it closed source. Now we're saying we're not going to change the licensing structure.
I don't even know what it means.
Go back to what we were just talking about with HashiCorp. The license changed. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but, Docker was never really, I mean, if I would put a number, I would say that Docker was less open source than HashiCorp projects were open source. They were used by people and free and stuff like that, but Docker was never really into open source at all. If anything, Docker always had conflicts with open source projects. So, I mean, that's kind of okay, I think. Just Docker was clear always that they're not really into open source. They're very into community, but not open source.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, congratulations to AtomicJar. Merry Christmas.
Nice.
Nice gift. You don't have to talk to the VCs anymore, I guess. We'll leave it at that. That's usually the upside of being acquired, is the VC conversations go away.
Yeah, especially now. If you're a company that talks to VCs, all they're asking you now is AI.
We'll get to AI in a minute. Next up, Karmada brings Kubernetes multi-cloud capabilities to CNCF Incubator. So basically, Karmada is now an incubator project.
Okay. I did not know that. Nice.
Because it just happened this week. That might be why you didn't. So anyway, Karmada is there. So Karmada, because I looked into this, it's again, make it easier for us to say, a Kubernetes management system that enables users to run cloud-native applications across multiple Kubernetes clusters and clouds with no changes to applications. Okay, anytime I see this 5-word phrase, with no changes to applications, either you're being lied to, or there is some serious black magic that's going on under the hood.
Hey, that was commercially probably the most important move Docker made back in the day. Kind of, hey, you know what? We can run your applications in containers. We can take whatever you're having and we can run it in containers. That was never the case. I mean, you can. They're not going to run well. You're not going to see the benefits, and probably similar thing. I'm pretty sure that I haven't went through Karmada, but I'm pretty sure that, no changes to the applications. It's just that you can really, you don't have to bother if the application is like this.
Right. I have a proposal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how strong of a proposal it needs to be, but we'll see. I need to set up a cluster. Whitney needs to set up a cluster, and you set up a cluster. And then we see if it can actually truly run, like self-hosted. I know you don't do self-hosted, but I'm thinking kind. Would it work with kind? I don't know. Let's see if it actually works.
Because,
probably not kind.
You would need
well,
to add
K3S.
something else to... Yeah, that KTS would need to be accessible, right, from outside your laptop or whatever it is.
Which I can do. I have safe ways to do that.
If you make it publicly accessible, yes.
Okay. Anyway, Karmada, now part of Incubator. In 6 years, we'll see if it makes it to Sandbox or not. Anyway, I saw this post on Dev2 this week. I am not a big Dev2 reader. It's just not my... Okay. It's just me, right? I don't have anything against it. It's just... It gets to be a little too much sometimes to me, marketing-wise. But when I saw this title, Why We Say Goodbye to Helm. Now, this is a vendor talking about getting rid of not using Helm anymore. But when I saw this, I went, isn't this already a solved problem? With 2 different ways of doing it. And in fact, one of them still uses Helm. I'm thinking Argo CD and Flux.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what are their reasons to say goodbye to Helm. I know what are mine.
Well, what are yours saying goodbye to Helm? What are your reasons?
Because it makes no sense for me to have data structure language, which is YAML, as the end result, and to create that end result with a free text templating solution, right? I'm really disappointed. I simply don't like that Helm does not understand data, right? And you expect me to use it to generate data.
So
if that makes sense, right?
It seems a bit circular to me, but yeah, okay. I'll go with you.
I mean, like if you want to write data in one way or another, you want something that understands how data works, right? You might want to use JSONet, cool. You might want to use Q, cool. But Helm templating engine is essentially the Go templating engine, the same engine that and the same method that you would use to define, let's say, HTML, right? Kind of, here's a way to generate any free text you want and just go, right? And that's nice if there is no other solution, but we have more wouldn't you like, so here's a question for you, Darren, right? If you would be generating HTML, wouldn't you want something that understands HTML instead of just free text?
Yes, I would.
Same thing, right? You want something that understands data, not necessarily YAML, right? Because YAML is the final output that goes to Kubernetes API, but something that understands data and the structures that you define so that you can have things like autocomplete or that it can simply prevent you from doing silly errors and will not ask you will detect that you didn't put enough spaces or whatever the common pitfalls are with when working with structures through free text.
So I guess at some point, the reason why this caught my eye is I'm working on something that I am trying to position as anti-Helm. Not from a negative perspective, but it's like you don't need it, or you shouldn't be using it because some of the reasons you were just saying. So anyway, I just thought it was an interesting post. I mean, at the end of the day, when you get all the way to the bottom, by the way, he has some very weird cat-based memes. I'm not into cats. And Britney Spears for whatever reason. It gets down to the point, where am I at? The author owns a company that has a solution for fixing all these problems. Of course. Right?
Okay.
That's what Dev2 is about, right? Dev2 and the other one, I can't remember the other name. This is why we started GlassCube, an easier way to deploy applications and infrastructure on Kubernetes. Let's just go ahead and take a look at the... I'll give them some more airtime because we've already gone that far. Except it's not... Okay, there we go. Operator. GlassCube. Kubernetes operator. Open source tools on autopilot. Okay. Easily installation with little to no configuration. Okay, that's good. Isn't it a bit odd that in order to install it... The GlassCube operator is simply deployed with Helm.
No, but This is where I try to make distinction, right? I see Helm as a best solution without a doubt that we have to deploy third-party applications to our clusters, right? Because everything is defined as Helm. That's what everybody expects. That's how everything is defined. I'm not trying to remove that in any form of way, because when I define third-party applications, I don't care about templating or none of those things. All I care is here are the values that I can use to customize the solution, go, right? That's very third-party charts are very different from my charts, because in my charts, I need to define those templates. And then that's when I'm hitting the problems I have with Helm, right? But using it like to deploy whatever this is, or Postgres or something else, no, Helm is the best option we have. And I have no good reason to change it.
Okay. I could probably talk for the next 10 minutes on why, even for third parties, Helm is not the answer. It's an answer, but not the answer.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go there today.
So I'm going to give you very, very quick single sentence why. Simply because everything is defined as Helm, right? So until somebody comes and says, okay, everything is already available as something else, I have no other choice.
Okay. I'll give you that. Fair enough. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Oh, I do want to go ahead and go back. I was talking about the software that Whitney uses. It's called either Anki, or I believe it's Anki. It's a program that allows you to create flashcards.
Okay.
So,
and
it appears to be.
I know that she is using something like that.
Yep, it's this, and it appears to be. I'm not going to call it open source. It may be free community software, which is how things are being phrased today. I don't know about synchronization, but maybe. So anyway, this is Anki. Thanks, Willem, for reminding and finding that. Okay.
Nice.
Good. All right, so there. Okay. Atlas, not Atlas MongoDB Atlas, but Atlas, the database migration tool, announced this week, sorry for Victor and everybody else that doesn't use Java anymore, but for those of us that are still using Java, now has automatic migration for Hibernate. I'm not a big fan of Hibernate, but for the people that need it, heck yes, because it's a pain in the butt to get right. So anyway, that just came out this week. So if you're stuck using Hibernate, this is the answer for now. Going back to your example, until something better comes along, this is the answer for now.
Yep. Nice.
Okay.
Very cool.
Okay. 2 items from Charm this week. This week in Charm.
Okay. Now I'm shaking. What's new?
Huh?
Who?
Huh?
Huh?
A simple, powerful library for building interactive forms and prompts in the terminal. Do you realize how your CLIs just changed by having huh?
Is it building it? Is it shell thingy or to build interactive prompts in the terminal? What is it?
So you're building forms.
Okay, it's Go. Yeah.
It's Go. Yeah. It's a library. It's not one of their standalone apps. So now you can modify some of your CLIs to where you're having to do weird things into a form. See, this takes me back to the 80s when I was writing UIs for 80 by 24 amber screens and green screens. It's like, this is the same stuff that I was writing back then. But anyway.
Very cool. I need to check that. I definitely need to check it.
And then secondly, something that is a standalone application is VHS. We've talked about that quite a few times. You can now do freeze frames. You can do copy paste, which is pretty cool. And also some new modifiers. So they keep on little by little adding more and more stuff to VHS. Nice. It's great. All right. That was This Week in Charm. Let's double check. Okay, good. Couple more here. What was this one? This one is, It's a controller called Cleaner, Kubernetes controller called Cleaner, that proactively identifies, removes, or updates stale resources. Do you have any uses for that? Not really, because you tear everything down and start over again, don't you?
Yeah, and usually kind of, resources as in physical resources like pods are usually managed by some higher level resources like deployments or stateful sets. So I'm not sure how many stale resources I would normally have, or I normally have. I need to check that. But I don't think it's a common thing to have.
Yeah.
Stale
Well, this one also handles...
Unless you go directly pod.
Yep. This one also handles CRDs as well, or custom resources too.
Yeah.
So anyway, Cleaner. I pass this off to a few of my people that are managing clusters, and they're going to take a look at it, see if it makes any sense or not. Okay, let's get into StructureSmith. Tools like this exist everywhere else. And I looked at this one. It looks interesting. It's been out for a while. You can automate the generation of project files and templates for repositories and whatever else based on custom YAML configurations. Okay, so StructureSmith, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here we go. So here's a basic configuration for this directory. So it's grouping as common Git files. So I have a Git ignore, and its source comes from here. The destination comes from license, it comes from here, blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
And then you could also create all the stuff for your Git repositories. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. The thing that I saw that was different about this is it's a lot deeper than a lot of the other things we've looked at in the past of these generator type. How do you want to call this? A scaffolding for files.
Yeah.
So all through templating. And I think
Nice.
this one was, no, this was actually new, like days ago, new. But it's also GitHub Action. I don't know why I would use this as an action.
I mean,
Unless it's a...
You would,
Well-
because, if you click a create new repository, you probably want GitHub Action to... I mean, you could go through whichever system you have, just click a button and then execute that thing that will create a repository and so on. But the easiest way is to just say, go to GitHub, click new repository, and that repository has the things you need, right?
Yep. Or I guess really what this would make sense is if you're using GitHub Actions to drive your backstage implementation, whatever your platform portal type stuff is,
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
This is a part of that process. So
Yeah.
StructureSmith.
To me, it's more like that. In my vast majority of cases, I don't need GitHub Action. And the same thing applies to other pipelines. If this is a CLI, and I assume it is,
Yeah.
I know how to execute the CLI. I know how to put it myself. I don't need a special plugin addition or whatever it's called, depending on technology.
Correct. Okay, one more before we get into the craziness. So so I talked about Atlas and Hibernate earlier, making the Java people happy. envdoc may make you happy. I don't know. A tool for generating documentation for environment variables in Go structs. So when you're writing your struct, here's the example. So you create a struct, define your things, and then it generates the documentation out of that. Do you care?
I mean, to be, if you should, the arguments of a command that executes that binary, that runs it, are a must. Everything else is a bonus, right? So expect that port and address to be --port and --address. And then environment variables are, okay, so you can also do it through environment variables. That's great, but that's alternative. Never
Right.
the primary way. Precisely because of the problem, right? Kind of, how do I know which environment variables, right? And read the documentation, stuff like that. It's so much easier to do. --help. Tell me what I can do. And then over there, I have, you can define a port. And by the way, we would also accept environment variable port, right?
Right.
If that makes sense.
Okay. I just thought it was interesting. I thought you might like it. I was wrong. That's okay. It's okay. All right, 2 items for AI this week. AIKit, a quick and easy and local or cloud agnostic way to get started to host and deploy large language models for inference. No GPU, internet access, or additional tools are needed to get started except for Docker.
Docker.
Okay. So it's using local AI under the hood for the inference. So this is AIKit. This is new-ish, a couple of weeks old. And currently MIT licensed.
Those things are very nice for developing, right? You want to play with AI models, whatnot. You want to run it on your machine, great, right? The issue I have with those tools is always, okay, but if that becomes a thing and we start running it in production, we will need more than Docker, right? Models will run on multiple nodes and whatnot, and then we get that discrepancy. Okay, no, but this is how you run it locally. No, but that's how you run it in production and stuff like that. And most tools did not bridge that gap anyway, so I'm not really blaming anybody. But that's one of the problems I think that we are having in general.
Right, so this is AIKit. And finally, I don't remember where I saw this. It was probably in some group I was in. Bash one-liners for LLMs. So
okay, I like that already.
I figured that's why I saved this one till last. So I spent the last month working with, so this came through Mozilla to launch an open source project called LlamaFile, which is the new best way. I like how they phrase that, new best way. Mm-hmm. Not the best way, but the new best way to run an LLM on your own computer. So far things have been going pretty smoothly, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Easiest way to get started is to download one of the pre-built Llama files from Hugging Face. So you'll download the Llama file. There it is. Test that it works. Great. And then from there you can go. So in this case, you can do image summarization in this case. And you say, oh, grab the image and then run the Llama file, give it the image, the temp, the whatevers, what do you see? And then it gives you back whatever. So anyway, here you go. Since we have, where did I put it? Oh yeah. Since I have the Mac Studio here, 4 seconds to run on my Mac Studio, which cost $8,300. Okay, I don't have this one. An M2 Ultra with 800 gig per minute. Yeah, I don't have this one. That would be nice. I'm not willing to spend $8,300 on a machine. I don't think I spent that much money on 2 cars combined. My only regret is I didn't get the one with 76 GPU cores. 10 seconds on Windows using an NVIDIA GeForce. And then 45 seconds on, it looks to be just a pretty standard CPU.
Yeah.
I think the key part to all of these things, going back to AIKit as well, I honestly don't care how long it takes to run on my machine. I mean, I care, but I don't care, like, is it done within minutes versus seconds? That's probably okay. For most things, right?
To be honest, all those 3 times are acceptable for me, kind of. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So anyway, file name generation, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, you can take a look at the Bash one-liners for LLM. So what I expect to see from you is a video about how to chain together Bash one-liners to make your life perfect. Speaking of making your life perfect, mistakes when building IDPs and streamlining your SDLC. What could possibly go wrong when you're doing that?
I mean, probably the most important lesson learned I was from there is that, or a message to people is, it's not enough to have a UI on top of whatever you're having and say, I have an IDP now.
Heresy.
That's
Heresy.
The most
no,
important.
Stop. That's enough for us to stop streaming. Continue on.
Yeah, no, anyway. That's it. That's all there is. Kind of just use Backstage. That's it.
Just use Backstage. And then this week's was about Acorn.
Yeah. Now you need to watch and to see whether it's exciting or disappointing.
By the way, I just noticed down here on the counter, you just crossed 60,000 subscribers.
Did I? Oh, not even following. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's 60,000. Yes.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
This channel.
It's 100,000. I want that YouTube.
You want the plaque. The plaque.
Plaque, yeah.
Yeah, the one I don't have either. And that's fine. Because this channel just crossed 3,000, I think 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So you're 20x, so you're a lot closer to 100,000 than I am. But that's okay. Is that it? That is all the items I have. Let's take a look at some of the chats here because I got behind because I didn't want us to run out here. I see a lot of things. Java doc for Golang. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Talking about envdoc.
Yeah.
I saw this ongoing thing about with us not being here last week. That's also when the Broadcom deal closed for VMware. I think that happened. Either
some friends are still there, some friends are not there anymore, and for some friends do not know yet because in Europe the laws are complicated, different. So
yeah,
it will take a few months.
That's and some of the chats were going on here to where Broadcom is changing the pricing. It's going to be interesting to see if VMware is a shell of itself or not.
We'll see.
Because right now, Tanzu was the number one thing, and I can't remember what. So it was going to be 3 groups. Tanzu was number 1, and the other 2 were like other types of products. I don't remember what they were.
Yeah. I mean, number 1 depends how you look at it, from the financial perspective or from the... I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't have information, that Tanzu was not the number 1 earner in VMware. I would place my bets that that's VMware.
Right,
you know, virtualization.
ESX. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
ESX,
I think that was the
exactly.
second company. I think that was the second company that was...
Yeah.
I think that's going to be... I don't know. Congratulations, but I'm also like, what's happening? Trying to find... Yeah, because this is the one thing that they were just talking about. I'm going to pull this up here real quick. Once it shows, if it renders, there we go. From Ars Technica. Broadcom, oh, this is what I was trying to remember, ends perpetual license sales. That was this week. Testing customers and partners. Already purchased licenses can still be used, but will eventually lose support. So you have perpetual licenses that are going to be no longer any good.
What's a perpetual license? You pay once and you have it for life.
Correct.
I mean, to be honest, I don't understand why anybody sells those types of licenses.
Well, back then,
and even it makes you wonder, do you want to buy such a license? Because it's very tempting. You say, hey, for $100 you have a lifetime of this, right? But then what is the interest of that somebody to keep existing as a company, right? Because we all gave money is spent, no need to invest anymore, right? I'm not talking about VMware now, but in general, right? Do you want, even as a user, I'm not sure that that's a good thing.
Right. And it says, moving forward, VMware will only offer term licenses or subscriptions. Term license means 3 years, and that's it, whatever. But here's the software that all falls underneath that. And it's like, whoo, vSphere. That's ESX. If you had bought a perpetual license, the other thing that most perpetual licenses did, I'm not a lawyer. I have never sold a perpetual license. But being on the receiving end of those, when I bought a perpetual license, that means all the upgrades, all the new versions, I got those for free. I didn't pay anything else. Yes, I had to buy new hardware.
I suspect...
But yeah, anyway.
It probably... I'm guessing that sometimes companies want to sell those licenses hey, we need to lift off. We need business, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you whatever just give me money. I need money right now. So if you give me those 100K, take it for lifetime. I don't care. I mean, next year is not my problem.
I stand corrected, Bill. Thank you. A new version meant an upgrade fee, but not the subscription. Yeah, so I might have to pay an upgrade to move to the new version. But I still...
Yeah.
It's like I buy some software like this too. There's a video, or is it a video editing or photo editing, whatever it is. I pay for version 1. And when version 2 came out, I didn't have to buy the full new price. Like, let's say it was $100 for the first version. I pay an upgrade fee of like $25 or $30 to get to the next main big version. But that's still perpetual. Okay, yeah, Bill.
Yeah, that makes a bit more sense. But you're different because video editing stuff, and then you see the new features and you say, is it worth it for me to upgrade or not? I'm guessing that's how you were operating, right?
Mm-hmm.
With companies, we already have a lot of problems with companies, kind of big enterprises, right, not doing the right thing. And I feel that we should never design licenses in a way that they foster bad practices, right? So basically, we already have enough problems as industry of big enterprises not upgrading, updating regularly and waiting for years. And now you're incentivizing them not to do that, right? So you're incentivizing them to go even more into the wrong direction with those licenses. I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Because imagine the conversation where you say, hey, you need to upgrade your Ubuntu servers from, I don't know, Ubuntu 14 to 24 or whatever is the current version. And companies already freak out. That's too much work. We don't know what will happen. And if on top of that you say, and you will have to pay more for that. You know what will happen? They will never upgrade.
They will give you a middle can of politeness. Yes, a middle can. Okay. Here we are in the year. So anyway, as we said at the top, by the way, I never said, I always forget to bring the drinks out, but I had one today because I needed it. We are not here for the next 2 weeks. This is because of me this time. I am going to be disconnected. So we'll be back. I hope so. It should be. We'll be back the first Friday in January, whatever that day is. What would that day be? Because Sunday is the 31st, 6th? Maybe it's the 6th of January. Whatever that first Friday in January is.
January 1st might be Monday. So
it's a Monday this year, yeah.
Then Friday.
Or next year, technically.
5th, yeah. Anyways.
5th, whatever it is. Whatever that first Friday. We'll be back then, unless something changes. But that's the plan. So everybody take off 2 weeks. Hopefully everybody's sort of disappearing for 2 weeks. Technically, this is my last day of work for the year. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm going to try to finish it up today to where I don't have to work next week. But we'll see.
Lucky you.
We'll see. Like I said, I'm not done yet. Still have more things to do. Anything else? Happy Hanukkah for everybody that's finishing up Hanukkah right now. Merry Christmas for that getting ready to happen. Everything else in the middle, happy whatever it is, merry whatever it is. Somebody said yesterday, it's like, they said, Happy Christmas. I went, yeah, Merry New Year. Just because. By the way, that's from a, do you remember the movie Trading Places? Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd.
Oh yeah, that was my favorite when I was a kid, yeah.
I believe it was either in that one. As a kid, you should not have watched that movie, number one. The other movie it may have been Coming to America. Anyway, there was a big one there. It's like, Merry New Year. Maybe that was Coming to America. That's probably more. Anyway, it was Eddie Murphy that said it. I just never forgot that. Anyway, enough. Let's say, thanks, Bill. We appreciate it. Karen, thank you as well. Happy holidays. That's the great way to say it. Happy holidays. And if you don't have holidays, just maybe be kind. I have to remind myself to be kind a lot. So thanks for everybody that listens in and watches and has supported us throughout the years. We are coming up, can you believe it, 5 years of doing this. 5 years.
5 years, baby.
Long time. So anyway, everybody have a great holiday season. We'll see you back on that last Friday in January, or the first Friday in January. And again, if you like Christmas and holiday music at all, be sure to listen to next week's episode. There's about 20 minutes of holiday music that you may or may not like. Well,
you just told me not to listen to the next episode.
You don't ever listen to the episodes anyway, so I don't know why it bothers you at all.
That's true. That's true.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great holiday season. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.